For generations, the Canadian child welfare system has removed Indigenous children from their families and separated them from their communities. Today, the expectations for caregivers and foster parents has evolved to include community and culture in a child's healing journey.
I want to first present the protocol to educate foster parents on what they need to do to better take care of our kids.
A group of elders and knowledge keepers representing Indigenous nations from across Alberta gather with community leaders. The elders have been invited to share their wisdom about healing Indigenous children in government care. The presentation of traditional protocol opens the gathering.
I've been a foster parent, and every foster child that I had in my home was because there was no other place for them to go. And so I took them in.
When I first got in foster care, I went to a group home, just me and my siblings stay there. And then my little brother moved away. They would ask me, who do you want to live with? And I would name their names, and they would move me with them, but then it wouldn't last for very long.
Not a lot of love in childcare when I was growing up. Faced a lot of racism and violence and abuse. I went into childcare when I was 14 years old.
It would be like long periods of not having contact with any like family members or nation members.
It was a childhood that I choose not to remember.
It all started when I was like, 5. My house burnt down, so I got moved into care. I didn't really understood it at the time, just kind of confused and just moving all over.
Once they dropped me off at a foster home and I didn't like it there, I would grab my bags and I'd be gone. Off I go until I got sick of running around. I'd call the social worker, he's like, okay, I'm ready. As soon as I go there, I'd pack my bags and I'd be gone again.
There was a man and a woman that went into the house. They soon came out with my mother, who was carrying a small bag. My mother came to me and said I had to go with them. I remember asking, where are we going? My mother was crying, and I didn't know why. That was the first time that I went to a foster home. Even when I was writing this, it was hard to put it down on paper.
Many of them are in a state of shock when they come into the system. They're in a state of shock, and they're so fearful. And they stay that way for a long time.
I was called the useless Indian, wagon burner, stupid.
My parents tell me a lot. They got picked on because they were Aboriginal. I just kind of keep that in when I'm talking with all my friends at school. I don't talk about myself.
Being told probably ever since they were growing up that, you know, you're an Indian, you're a bad person.
I didn't like who I was. I wish I was different people who actually lived with their parents.
I spent many years taking many different modalities in healing, and mostly it was in an effort to heal myself. I was trying to get rid of all that shame and that pain and that self-hatred. I got that from residential school. Many of us spend our lives feeling that way, that we're not worthy, and whether by word or just by actions, we pass that on to our children.
At these other houses I lived at, I got into a lot of fights, arguments, and trouble, and did bad things I didn't want to do.
So just go out and do a bunch of stupid stuff, break into houses or hammer nails into a 2x4 and stick it across the road, watch the cars go flying into the ditch. Wasn't thinking of any consequences. I would just go out and do it and be laughing while I'm doing it.
They grow up hurt and angry and they act out, they break the law, they do all kinds of things because they haven't grown up with that teaching and understanding of who they are as a human being.
They haven't been taught, you know, that they can be welcomed in their own community. So quite literally, most of them go right into the streets.
There's a lot of family members that I know, but I don't talk to them. I find it hard to talk to them. The first time that I got in trouble with the law, I ended up going to a young offender center. I actually liked it because I felt safe.
You know, they're trained to be under somebody's thumb, you know, throughout their life. You know, they have never learned to assert their own identity.
I got called a half-breed quite a bit and a dirty Indian. I got called a dirty Indian by this one guy. I guess for him it was wrong place, wrong time, and wrong thing to say to somebody. Beat him up pretty bad with some brass knuckles that I had in my pocket. All those years, all the shit that I've gone through, not talking to anybody about it, having it all built up, and then just one little thing that somebody calls you just tend to explode.
We're dealing with generations of broken families. We're dealing with parents that never had opportunity. We're dealing with grandparents that grew up in the system.
I came to this one foster home that was just real nice, but like I felt not like right. I felt like something, a part of me wasn't fully opened up.
First we will smudge, and then we will say a prayer, okay?
For foster parents and caregivers, there are many programs and agencies across the province that connect Indigenous children to their culture and community.
My spirit name is Turtle Woman, and I am a cultural advisor and the cookum for the Aboriginal Head Start program. Smudging helps them to feel good inside. They're learning to quiet their bodies. They do understand our prayers travel with the smoke to Creator.
Recognize that that child has a spirit. And that child has a history behind them.
We were taught you have to treat your baby like it's a gift of Creator, and you have to nurture it and raise it. And so whoever is looking after somebody's kid, you have to treat them like your own.
Air we breathe, air we breathe. The water we drink, the water we drink. And the food we eat, the food we eat. We also thank you, we also thank you for all the good people, for all the good people in our lives, in our lives. Hi, hi. Hi, hi. Good job, my friends. Good job.
The number one thing that I know that kids need when they're into their healing is safety. They need to trust people that are around them.
Let's do the other side. And what does it mean? The children. Right.
We focus on working with Blackfoot language and culture from 19 months up into 6 years of age. We have a lot of foster parents that bring their children here. The first 6 years of life, we believe, are very sacred. Children really feel like this is their center, that this has kind of been their nest. Making sure that they have that real strong beginning in life, where children are really, really nurtured and really, really valued and really loved and really appreciated.
It's one word, it has 4 letters in it. It's love. You could feel it as soon as you walk into this place. Being surrounded by our ways, that's how we learn. And you can see the kids how happy they are.
It's Stucky.
But who's a beaver?
Us.
Right, you guys are the beavers, right? Yeah, I did get really lonesome for my siblings, and I want them to feel loved and safe and protected. I feel like for the people who they live with should be talking to them and bringing them to their people to see them more and learn more about their history and their background.
Be really clear with yourself about your intentions in taking this child to foster in terms of ensuring that the child understands their heritage, their identity, and that they're connected in a meaningful way with family, with community, to periodically take a child to a Aboriginal event is not sufficient.
A relationship with the community where your child is from is really important. That there's really good people out there in the communities, nothing to be scared of. I know that is an issue.
I believe if a child is going to grow up strong and proud, they need to know who they are. We have a genealogy center here at the Métis Nation. We have genealogists who work with our citizens to identify themselves. And a lot of times there's not a lot needed to start the process.
So we do have information on the Jobin family, and it looks like we have record of your great-grandfather.
We've had foster parents reach out to us to say, how do we get involved? We just invite them to come out and be part of us. Bring those children out, whether it's events, whether it's school activities, any of those kinds of things. All of a sudden, they just know they belong. They want to learn to jig. They want to be part of that group because that's them.
Last time I seen my son was 6.5 years ago. He was 3 months old. The only thing I ever actually have of him is pictures. I don't know how he sounds. Looks exactly like me from how I was when I was a kid. And he's currently in foster care now too.
As foster parents, you need to understand and respect how the bio parents feel. They feel a lot of shame when their kids are apprehended, and that comes out in addictions and mental health. And so a lot of times they hide.
It would be good to find out who are this child's relatives and how do we get to know them. No matter how dysfunctional those parents are, and some of our people are really hurt and they have a lot of problems. Those kids love their parents, and those parents love their kids. If it's not possible to see their parents, then someone other than their parents, maybe an auntie. Most kids have somebody somewhere. It would be helpful if people knew about protocols, how to ask for what you need in the community, whether it be an elder or a family member, so that you have someone who's opening doors for you.
Parents can approach an elder or a spiritual leader and say, I want you to teach my son or my daughter. And here's the protocol. I want you to take them under your wing and teach them.
The protocol that you do, you're giving it in the spirit of help, guidance from that person, and if that person accepts it, they'll help you. It seems to be a nice way of making a connection.
Make that extra effort where you go to the community and be part of what it is that they do to heal themselves. They're committed to bringing the children out to spiritual ceremonies. They're willing to bring them out to the social gatherings, and they're willing to provide an opportunity for that child to learn the language.
Because I speak my own language, I understand how kinship and the words flow through our language. Once you connect the child to their language, they can approach an elder that will open the doors for their cultural and their spirituality practices to fall into place.
Somewhere in the back of their mind, they've always wondered, you know, about ceremony and taking part. They have an opportunity to check out this other side of them that they've only dreamed of. A safe space for that young person to learn how to become a human being with all the emotion of anger and joy and sadness without suppressing, you know, that emotion.
My name is Hal Eagletail, and I'm from the Tsuut'ina Nation. We're having a sweat lodge purification ceremony. We call it the womb of Mother Earth. So when we come in, get purified, we come out reborn and refocused, re-energized, so that life's challenges and obstacles, we can face them head on.
Tears are welcome here. Anger is welcome here. It's giving them permission. It's okay. It's okay to be a good Indian. You know, we can work with that.
I quit doing drugs December 28th, 2015. I actually danced in Sundance for the first time. A lot of times I always say to the guys, wish I grew up around this kind of stuff instead of growing up around what I did grow up, gangs, drugs, and alcohol.
It's taught me to be more open, to express what I've gone through in a healthy and positive way, rather than bottling everything up and masking it through alcohol.
I do like little ceremonies once in a while. Busted like the whole land, that area that we were gonna use. I did one Sundance this summer and like try to like hang out with my grandparents as most as possible.
It'd be good for the foster parents to allow themselves to learn as well, to be a part of that ceremony, to be a part of that circle, not to be afraid to go where the child goes. Be open-minded enough to do that if they want to be good foster parents.
I can remember when I was 5, I remember going into my first sweat lodge, and it's kept me out of a lot of trouble. Like, I have no criminal record. I haven't touched alcohol, drugs. I have a beautiful family. I have a beautiful life. I'd explain to that foster family how important it is for his kid to know who he is as a Cree person, being really from this land, like First People.
My relationship with Christina, I am her foster parent. I think right away I was gung-ho because I wanted to teach her how to cook. She always helps me when we're doing traditional meals.
I feel welcomed, I feel loved, I feel safe. I have a feeling it's gonna last like very long because we get along really well.
It's like thunder, rain and thunder. Bringing them into your lives and loving them like they're your own family. Traditionally, we're always raised to help and nurture one another. Remember, just always push it away from you so you don't.
A child is a product of its environment. You need to change the environment within which these children are being raised. And one of the ways that we did that is investing in early intervention and prevention in communities so that parents and families can be supported so children didn't come into care.
Buy them a sash and get them to wear their sash to know that they can be very proud of who they are as Métis people.
The land of family where my ancestors are buried, the way that we live every day, the way that we interact, you cannot teach that to a child unless the child lives that.
Right now, I'm just trying to get myself out and live a normal life. And when I get out, I'm currently looking for an elder that I can keep in contact with so I can keep attending ceremonies. I hope my son has a good life. That's what I danced for at the Sundance, was for him to have a good life. I don't want him to grow up around the same kind of stuff that I grew up around, and I hope that he gets introduced to the culture.
Like, when you're part of a ceremony, they could be your cousins, uncles, you can be their uncles, but you automatically adopt them as your brothers. We're always taught never to push anybody away, especially little kids. Welcome them in, and eventually they're gonna know where they went and where they felt welcome, where they felt beautiful, and where they felt whole.
If they don't have strong roots, it's really hard. When they get to be teenagers and they're faced with a lot of life's challenges, those early years really help set a child for life.
The more they know of who they are and what they're about, they're going to find a way to address whatever's in front of them. From there, you'll get a child coming out the other side who will turn around and respect you and care for you as well.
Just hope. That's what I kind of kept me going, was all the hope I had. And I just kept praying each night, just hoping to like see my family again, see my brothers and sisters, all my cousins, just to be normal again.
It's an exciting goal. It's wellness, it's healing, personal healing. But because I've been on a journey of my own, I think it's exciting to walk with someone who's on their journey.
She wanted to dance powwow, and my family travels and dances. So I asked them if they can mentor her.
I go to round dances, I go to powwows. I pray while I dance, and I pray for the people who are going through hard times. I changed a lot ever since I started dancing. Now my behavior is different now. Much nicer, more brave to do things, and more confident, and know more of my history, and more spiritual, more calm, I guess, yeah.
Well, for years, our Indigenous teachings and our value systems were kind of placed on the back burner. We were told, we're gonna teach our children, we're gonna take them and we're gonna teach them our way. So we're really taking back the raising of our children, and we're taking back and saying we're gonna be the leaders in terms of what works for our families, what works for our children. Whether they be foster parents or biological parents, and incorporating real strength-based approach.
Even if you're not the same color as us, maybe you're one of us anyway. The philosophy of our teacher was, Creator doesn't see color. It's who are you and what are you prepared to do?